Janet Rosenberg was born on October 20th, 1920, into a middle-class Jewish family in Chicago. Her parents, Charles and Millicent Rosenberg, were hard-working people who valued education and fairness. Growing up during the Great Depression, Janet saw firsthand how economic struggle could break families apart. She watched poverty, racism, and inequality around her and often wondered why the world seemed divided between those who had and those who had not. Her Jewish upbringing also taught her the value of standing up against injustice. Janet was bright and outspoken, never afraid to question authority. She excelled in school and carried an early interest in helping people. After high school, she enrolled at Wayne State University in Detroit, where she studied nursing, a profession that allowed her to serve others, especially the poor and vulnerable. But her mind stretched far beyond medical care. She became interested in politics, trade unions, and global movements for equality. It was during these years that destiny introduced her to the man who would forever change her life and the history of a nation. Meeting Cheddi Jagan. In 1942, while studying in the United States, Janet met Cheddi Jagan, a young dental student from British Guiana, now Guyana. He was intelligent, humble, and driven by revolutionary ideas about freedom and justice for his colonized homeland. Their bond was immediate and deep. They shared a passion for equality, workers' rights, and social transformation. Their love story was bold for its time. America, in the 1940s, still frowned upon interracial marriage, but that didn't stop them. Janet admired Cheddi's integrity and his dream of liberating his country from colonial rule. In August 1943, they married in Chicago, a union that would become one of the most iconic political partnerships in the Caribbean. Life in British Guiana. In 1943, Janet made the courageous decision to leave behind her comfortable American life and move with her husband to British Guiana, a British colony on the northern coast of South America. For a young American woman, the move was both daring and life-changing. When she arrived, she found a land of racial divisions, poverty, and limited opportunity for the working class. But instead of being intimidated, Janet embraced the challenge. She worked as a nurse at the Georgetown Hospital and quickly earned respect for her kindness, discipline, and empathy. Together, she and Cheddi began organizing community groups and political discussions. They listened to sugar workers, teachers, and nurses, ordinary people who felt voiceless under colonial rule. Those early gatherings would later blossom into a movement that changed Guyana forever, the birth of the People's Progressive Party. By 1950, the Jagan's vision had crystallized. Along with like-minded activists, they founded the People's Progressive Party, PPP, a mass political movement calling for independence, racial unity, and equal opportunity. Janet was at the heart of it all. She wasn't merely the wife of the leader. She was a driving force in her own right. She became the editor of the party's newspaper, The Thunder, which she used to expose the injustices of the colonial system. Her articles were bold and uncompromising, and they struck a chord with working-class citizens. British authorities soon took notice, labeling her and Cheddi as dangerous communists. But Janet didn't flinch. She had chosen her side, and it was with the people. Victory, suspicion, and imprisonment. The movement gained strength quickly. In 1953, British Guiana held its first democratic elections under a new constitution, and the PPP won by a landslide. Cheddi Jagan became chief minister, and Janet was elected deputy speaker of the House of Assembly, one of the first women in the Caribbean to hold such a position. However, the colonial government grew alarmed. They feared the Jagan's socialist ideals and their influence over the working class. After only 133 days in office, the British suspended the constitution, sent in troops, and removed the PPP from power. The Jagans were arrested, Cheddi placed under house arrest, and Janet imprisoned for several months. Prison could have broken her spirit, but it only strengthened it. When released, she immediately resumed her activism. She helped rebuild the PPP, traveling across the country to organize rallies and educate citizens about their rights. Minister, organizer, and champion for the poor. After years of struggle, the PPP regained ground. Janet served as Minister of Labour, Health and Housing from 1957 to 1961. In that role, she improved access to medical care, expanded housing projects, and fought for workers' rights. She also worked tirelessly for women's equality and children's welfare. Janet co-founded the Women's Progressive Organization, WPO, to empower women politically and socially. Under her guidance, the WPO became one of Guyana's strongest female advocacy groups. Through her leadership, many women gained confidence to enter politics and public life. Her approach was always practical and people-centered. She believed that social progress started with education, health, and dignity for all citizens. Whether visiting rural villages or addressing Parliament, Janet carried the same calm but commanding presence. The road to independence. The 1960s were a turbulent decade for Guyana. As the country moved toward independence, racial and political tensions deepened. The PPP, supported largely by Indo-Guyanese voters, faced increasing opposition from the People's National Congress, PNC, led by Forbes Burnham. These divisions were sometimes exploited by foreign powers, anxious about the Jagans' leftist leanings. Nevertheless, the dream of independence came true. On May 26, 1966, Guyana became an independent nation. For Janet, it was the fulfillment of a lifelong struggle. Although the PPP was not in power at the moment of independence, she and Cheddi continued their political work with undiminished energy. Through years of elections, protests, and political challenges, Janet remained Cheddi's closest advisor and the party's moral backbone. She also worked as a journalist and editor, keeping the PPP's message alive even during its years in opposition. Loss and leadership. Janet becomes president. In March 1997, tragedy struck when President Cheddi Jagan passed away. Guiana mourned deeply. His death left a void that few thought could be filled. But once again, Janet Jagan rose to the occasion. Later that year, the PPP nominated her as its presidential candidate in the general election. She won, and on December 19, 1997, Janet Jagan was sworn in as President of Guyana, becoming the first woman to hold the position and one of the few female heads of state in the Western Hemisphere at the time. Her presidency faced immediate challenges. The opposition questioned the election results, sparking protests and political tension. Yet Janet remained calm and focused. She worked to continue Cheddi's vision, strengthening education, healthcare, and rural development. Despite her age and declining health, she governed with determination. However, by August 1999, health concerns forced her to resign. She handed over the presidency to Bharat Jagdeo, a younger leader of the PPP who would continue her party's legacy. Even after stepping down, Janet remained a respected advisor and elder stateswoman in Guyanese politics. Later years and lasting legacy. Even in retirement, Janet never abandoned public service. She continued writing, mentoring young leaders, and contributing to the PPP's internal affairs. Her articles and essays reflected a lifetime of political experience and a deep love for the country she had made her own. She received numerous honors, including Guyana's Order of Excellence, OE, and the Order of Roraima, OR, the nation's highest awards. Her contributions to women's rights and Caribbean politics were also recognized internationally. On March 28, 2009, Janet Jagan passed away at the age of 88. The news sent waves of mourning across Guyana. Tributes poured in from leaders around the world who remembered her as a trailblazer and a woman of unwavering principle. Today, schools, libraries, and community centers across Guyana still bear her name, keeping alive the legacy of a woman who turned her love for one man and one country into a lifelong mission of service. Please subscribe for more.